Hey, somebody needs to follow Made South. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You're listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. This week, The Professional Noticer is sponsored by WisdomHarbor.com. Today, families and school systems all over America are finding WisdomHarbor.com's one-of-a-kind streaming service to be the perfect, low-cost, high-quality educational tool for their students. Wisdom Harbor's stated responsibility is to create the next greatest generation, starting with your hometown and your school system. For less than $3 a month per teacher, classrooms have access to original content only found on WisdomHarbor.com that teaches, entertains, and builds character in young people while creating conversations between young people and the adults in their community. Utilizing video, audio, and the written word, content is delivered in small bites by Grammy winners, CEOs, comedians, chefs, best-selling authors, and Hall of Fame speakers. There are even guitar lessons from an award-winning songwriter. Check it out today and join your friends and neighbors who are already part of WisdomHarbor.com. And isn't it time your schools got involved? WisdomHarbor.com, creating America's next greatest generation, starting with your hometown. What a great Christmas present. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on The Professional Noticer, and as you know, we love it when somebody comes to the table with both. This week we have a very special friend of mine, a guy that I have grown to love and appreciate more than you could know. He is a man of 1,000 talents, a man of 1,000,000 skills, a man of 1,000,000,000,000 observations, and he has a few answers too. One of my favorite stories about this guy is how he met his wife. He knew her in high school. He was dating two of her friends, a fact that she was not real happy about. And one day she stuck her finger in his face and said, "I don't like you, Christopher Thomas." And he was smitten. He knew that was the woman he was going to marry. And he did. Now, how long have you been married, Chris?
Oh, man. Andy, first of all, my wife's going to kill me when she does not like when I tell that story. She doesn't like the dating her two friends part.
Well, then you shouldn't put it in your bio,
I know. I forgot that I
Christopher
did that.
Thomas, ladies and gentlemen.
I forgot that
Chris is the CEO, founder, runner, workshop chairman of Made South. And you've seen Made South in Garden and Gun. You've seen it. This has become quite the brand.
We do a lot of things. We do fun things. I don't like to do things that I don't have fun doing. So
and tell me how Made South. First, maybe explain. Just a short explanation about what is Made South.
So we started as a subscription box business. So I love the South. I love makers. I love artisans. I love the chefs, distillers. I love artists, the people who are making really fun and interesting things here in our region. And so I was trying to figure out a business that I could launch that would shine a spotlight on those people. So we started as a subscription box business back in 2014, where we would find these people who are making awesome things and we would buy their products, repackage them in a box, and ship them out to hundreds of subscribers across the country, people who care about the South and care about small business the way we do. So that's how we started. We only did that business for about 3 years. We kind of evolved it into an event production business where we create our own events that bring all of these makers and creatives together in one place. And we've been creating events for nearly 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. But then that's even involved, like, we've gotten into cocktail mixers. We've got a sticker business. We do some advertising. Like, I'm working on other things too.
Whatever's fun.
Yeah.
Made South is in on it.
That's right. That's right. If it has to deal with the South and shining a spotlight on people who we feel like are making really awesome things in our region, we're in. We're in for that.
Now, you and I met through our mutual friend, Dave Ramsey.
We did.
Who you used to work with, Dave.
I spent 12 plus amazing years working for that man. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And I love him to death. One of the greatest experiences of my life. And
Tell me about going in and telling him you were leaving.
yeah. This might be hard. I told this story to a friend of mine 2 weeks ago, and I started crying when I told it.
Okay, well, don't cry. Just
I'm going to try hard. But, I spent 12 years there.
If you cry, if you cry, Matt, get a close-up of him crying. Okay, go ahead.
Crying is not a sign of weakness, Andy. But I spent 12 years there. He gave me, when I went to work for him in 2001, I was 23 years old. I was a college dropout. I didn't know anything from anything. And he gave me an opportunity to come build some skills, build a career, really. And I'm forever grateful for that. And I'm convinced to this day I had the best job in that building. I'm convinced of that. I worked with great people. I did what I loved. My clients were awesome. I'm still dear friends with a lot of those people that I met doing that work. And I would never have left that place to go work for someone else. But I've always known in my gut, I've always known at some point, I have to go try to be an entrepreneur. I have to go try to build something for myself. I watched my dad kind of do that growing up, and it's just always been in me. And so when he hired me in 2001, I remember very vividly telling him that day, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I need you to know at some point, I'm going to have to leave and go do something for myself. And he told me the day he hired me, that's great. And until you figure out what that is, maybe you can come here and gain some skills, gain some knowledge, learn some things. Maybe you can even make a little money. And when you figure out what that is, you can go do that. And it just took me 12 years to figure it out. So the day that I walked in, it was my wife's birthday, February 14th, 2014. It was a Friday. And I got there early. I had some gifts for Dave. I'd come prepared. I got some gifts for you, by the way, today. But I came prepared. I had a gaggle of gifts that I was going to give him to say thank you for letting me spend 12 years there. And I was looking for my desk. I could see the parking lot. I could see where he parked. And it was Friday. And I mean, Dave owns the building. He comes in a little bit later on Friday. Right. He might take his time on a Friday morning. Have coffee with Sharon a little bit extra time. But so I was keeping an eye on that. Nervous. I mean, the day I asked my father-in-law if I could marry his daughter, that's the most nervous I've ever been. And this is the second
only to that.
It's the second most nervous I've ever been. And when I saw him pull in, and I thought, okay, here we go. And I made my way to the elevator. Took it down to the first floor, walked in. He was had just sat down, and I knocked on the door and just said, hey, can I get a couple minutes? He was like, sure, come in. So I shut the door, and the next 15, 20 minutes, walked him through my plan, what I was going to do, how grateful I was for the time that he had given me. And it was emotional for me.
Yeah.
He gave me an opportunity that I'll never forget, and it changed my life, really. And it was hard because I love that man, and I would not go to work for anyone else in the world. I'm convinced of that. But he gave me a big hug, told me he was proud of me, and I'm shocked, genuinely, today that 10 years later, we still have a great relationship. And he returns my text. We grab drinks every now and then. We'll go play golf. We went hunting
Dave
together.
Loves you. Dave loves you.
I'm just. It's one of my greatest gifts in life is the fact that I feel like I left well, and I've honored my time with him, and I love him.
Well,
I love that man.
That's one thing I have that. Dave has been influential in my life as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm grateful to him is that he introduced me to you.
Well, I'm grateful for that as well. I mean, we were sitting in South Dakota. I had never had a brown derby before in my life. Up before meeting you, I'd never heard of it. And I'm a cocktail guy. I own a cocktail brand. I'm in that space. I love that world, that culture. And I had never heard of a brown derby. And so when you sidled up next to me and I was like, what are you drinking? And a brown derby, let me tell you about it. And I ordered one right there and I thought, this is delicious. And so I'm very grateful that Dave introduced us.
only for that. But-
Well, yeah. I mean, that and Polly.
yeah, that Polly. Now you know Polly. Yeah, which you gotta like Polly better than me. So what is it that you did to start?
Yeah.
How did you implement your idea about Made South and briefly go over the subscription thing?
Yeah.
But then how you segged into what it is now?
So I knew that I wanted to start something. I had no idea what it was. I had a couple of counselors in my life. I still see them to this day. And so I started going to one particular counselor. His name is Jeff Helton, an ex-pastor of mine. Awesome man. And yeah, so I started seeing Jeff. I'd go see Jeff once, maybe twice a week. And I remember walking into his office and just saying, hey, I've decided to make the leap. I'm ready. And we had set a timetable for 6 months out. So we decided in August of 2013, okay, it's time for me to go make this leap. I was just feeling it every day. Like, I need to go build something. And so we decided to make the leap February 14th, 2014. It gave us about 6 months to plan. And so I thought, okay, I can figure this out in 6 months. I know enough people who are smarter than I am. I can talk to those people, figure out what I'm going to go do for the rest of my life.
And let me interject here.
Absolutely.
Having worked with Dave for more than a decade and knowing how Dave works with his employees, I'm sure that at that time you were debt free and you had some backup saved. So you had 6 months.
Yes, absolutely we did. But the prospect
still
of
looked like a deadline. Still
the
looked like a big wall.
prospect of or the idea that I'm going to walk out of this place and not have a guaranteed paycheck, which at the time, I mean, Dave was very generous to me in my comp plan, and so I was highly compensated at the time, and the idea of that going away, that was scary.
Yeah,
and it was scary
yeah.
More so maybe for my wife, who just has this extra security gland. I'm a little bit more of a risk taker than she.
But this is a common story between entrepreneurs.
Oh, the more people who I run into who take this leap, I can't think of one who doesn't have this as a thread in their story.
All right, so keep going.
Yeah, so I knew that I had 6 months to plan. So there were some kind of tactical things like, we turned off our 401k. We stopped, we aggressively saved over 6 months to put as much cash in that account as we could, because we knew there would be some lean months ahead as we started trying to create things. But then I started seeing Jeff aggressively. I would sit down with him once, maybe twice a week. He helped me identify what I'm good at and what I'm passionate about. And he helped me identify how those two things intersect. And to this day, it's kind of my bullseye for anything I do. It has to involve the South, which is something I'm very passionate about. It has to involve makers, artisans, small business, something I'm very passionate about. And it has to involve connecting, storytelling, branding, ideas, marketing. Those are the few things that I'm good at. I'm not good at many things, but the things that I do have to intersect what I'm passionate about and what I'm good at. And so Jeff helped me realize that. He gave me homework. Sitting down, I want you to talk to 10 of your friends, ask them, what do you feel like I'm good at? What do you identify as, what gets me excited? When you and I have lunch, what do you see that lights my eyes up? And having those conversations helped me identify. I'm passionate about the South. I'm passionate about small business. And I'm good at these things. So what can we create that intersects these two things? And we had this idea of a subscription box. The idea of discovering, which was another one of the things I'm good at. I'm good at recommendations. I'm good at identifying great restaurants, great cocktail bars, great musicians. We were talking about the Red Clay Straws last night. I'm good at seeing things and going, that's really cool. I have a decent eye for that. And when I find something I love, I'm really good at telling a bunch of people about it. And I'm not the person, and I never want to be the person, that if I have a bad experience, I'm the guy on Twitter going, this was the worst. You'll never hear. I just won't tell people about it. Right. But I'm not that negative person who's out there. My flight was delayed. American Airlines, you better do something about it. I'm not the person doing that. But if I love something, few things. There's a restaurant in Black Rabbit, or a restaurant in Nashville called Black Rabbit. It's not the most popular place in town, but it's awesome. And when you go there, the food is delicious. The drinks are delicious. The atmosphere is awesome. The story behind the building is great. The people who work there and run it are fantastic. I'm going to tell everybody about Black Rabbit in Nashville. If it's something like that, I love shouting from the rooftops and recommending things.
Yeah.
So I take my recommendations very seriously. And so I was like, okay, I'm good at discovering things. I'm good at connecting with these makers and artisans who are creating things that I think are really cool and developing relationships with them. What can I do that tells their story to more people? And I was like, okay, what if subscription boxes were hot at the time, 2012, 13. And so I said, okay, what if we I looked around, nobody was doing a subscription box that focused on the South, that focused on makers and artisans. You could get them for makeup. You could get them for dog treats. You could get them for all kinds of things. But this was a very niche thing, and I didn't see anybody doing that, and it excited me. So I subscribed to about a dozen subscription boxes. It didn't matter what they were. If I found one, I'd sign up. And I'd sign up for one, and then I'd cancel
Who's
it.
good, who's bad.
Yep. That box would show up in my mailbox, and I'd sit down with my notebook. I still have the notebook at home.
Dissect it.
And I'd open it up. What do I like about this? Is the packaging great? Did they ship it in a free USPS box? Did they scribble my name on there? Or is this like a professional label? Are there little details that they included in their packaging or the product or the way they packed it? How does this make me feel? Is this an awesome experience, or is this like, holy cow, they took my money and just kind of threw this thing together, and it doesn't seem like they cared about it? And so I made all of those notes, and we started thinking about, okay, man, maybe we could do this. And so what if we bought candles from this maker? What if we bought letterpress note cards from this maker? What if we bought chocolate bars from this maker? Put them in, repackage them, but do it in a neat way. So we had a graphic designer create like a really fun design guide, a printed design guide that got laid in every box.
Told the story.
It told the story. Because our goal, I never ask anybody for free things. I always pay them for their product. I thought that was very important. B, I want you, if Andy receives a box, I want Andy and Polly to open that thing up and go, man, this is really cool. Oh, okay. How do I learn more? Oh, I'm going to go to thiscandlecompany.com. I'm going to learn about Heather and her candles that she makes. And when I want to buy more of these, I'm going to go to Heather's website and buy candles from her. That was our goal, is to let more people learn about these makers who we felt like were doing really great things, but just not a lot of people knew about them. You can tell I'm a college dropout.
It's made in the South. You were made in the South.
That's right. So that's how we started.
We all was.
You're so good at that. So that's how we started. It was a quarterly subscription box, so we would send out 4 shipments a year, and we did that for 3 years. It's a hard business, It's a hard business for a lot of reasons. If you're small, one tiny example was like, if we were shipping out 350 boxes this month, well, I'm a small business. I ordered 350 of these, or whatever we needed, bring them in, and my wife would invite some of her girlfriends over. She would serve them chocolate cake and red wine, and they would pack boxes for us in our sunroom. I mean, it was bootstrapped. Well, if I order a barbecue sauce, and that barbecue sauce comes in and 1 or 2 jars are broken, okay, well, now I got to go back. I got to order 2 more, and I've got to delay this shipment because I've got to get more in over the next 2 or 3 days. Or if I packed this all up and I shipped out these 350 and one of these boxes got damaged, and so that box shows up at Andy and Polly's front step and there's barbecue sauce leaking out of it. Well, now I got to call these 3 makers. I got to order 1 more of each of these things. Things like debit cards, credit cards that were on file that the person got a new card and didn't update their card in our system. So that charge was declined for whatever reason. We would ship something, and then 2 days later, we get an email. Oh, I forgot to tell you, we moved last month. And so that box is gone forever. And so there were a lot of challenges that it made it, we didn't have good automated systems to handle a lot of that. And so we kind of sunsetted that part of the business out after 3 years of just wrestling with it.
But you got up to over
We had right at about 1,000 subscribers when we turned it off 3 years later.
So I would think that with 1,000 subscribers, there's not a month goes by that there's something.
It was constantly something.
Right.
And the margin, I mean, it wasn't enough to sustain. I got 4 kids. And they like to eat. And, as Dave would say, somehow every year their pants get a little bit shorter, know.
They got to live indoors.
They live indoors. I like to keep them warm in the winter. So the margins were tight enough that it just didn't make sense to keep wrestling that thing. Now, in year 2 of the business, though, we had a friend reach out to us and say, hey, I think there's an idea here for an event that you could create that brings all of these people that you're talking about together in one place and invite other people to come in and meet them face to face and buy their products face to face. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of interesting.
Instead of having a graphic artist tell their story, let them tell their own story.
Let them tell their own story. Let people walk up and look you in the eye and learn about how you make this leather product that you make, or how you pour these candles, or what's your process here. And so I thought that sounded pretty interesting. So we did our first, we call it Made South Market. We did our first Made South Market event in September of 2015. So year 2 of the business, we added that event. And we had never produced an event before. We had no idea what we were doing. But we pulled it off. We worked on it for about 9 months, and we pulled it off, and we had a couple thousand people show up at our very first event in the middle of a field in Franklin, Tennessee.
And you charged them.
We did. We charged them.
You didn't just say, hey, we got a craft fair.
No, we don't run craft fairs.
Right.
Craft fairs are great. I am all for them.
This is high end.
It's a different thing, and we were very intentional about that, and we got a lot of hate about it early.
Really?
Oh, man.
Really? What? Like how? Yeah.
Well,
hey, I love disasters, so tell me.
And this would emotionally, in 2015, this would emotionally wreck me.
Yeah, sure.
For 2 to 3 weeks. But after that event, 2,000 people came out to that first event, and I bet you we got 30 emails in the week following, people saying, I can't believe you would charge me to come shop. You're just taking money away. That's money I would spend with those people, but I'm not going to come to your event because you're charging me $20 to get in. And dude, I'm going to tell you, my wife walked me through this process of, she's so much smarter than I am, but she said, you're going to have to emotionally budget for these emails from now on, because I was depressed.
That's
for
a
2
good
weeks.
way of putting it.
Oh,
to emotionally budget
yes.
for what is going to happen.
Well, and our friend John Acuff talks about this idea that 2,000 people came to this thing and had a great time, and I got 30 people who said, "How dare you charge to let me into this thing?" And so I didn't pay attention to the 1,970 people
Chris,
who had a great time.
that is human nature. That's human nature.
It's that one
let me tell you a
person.
story. You know the the pitcher Jim Palmer that pitched for the Orioles, Hall of Fame. And I was playing golf with Jim Palmer one day, and I said, what is the most, I think the quality of our answers is determined by the quality of our questions. You ask good questions, you get good answers. And so I don't like to ask people, where are you from? I mean, I'll ask that, but I want to get some deeper. And so I asked Jim, I said, in your career, what was a moment that was most confounding to you, that it kind of disturbed you and got on you and you had to figure it out and shake through it? He said, well, it was actually after my career when the time had elapsed for him to go into consideration for the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Now, he was a lock. I mean, everybody knew he was a lock because he was going to get in the Hall of Fame. And so he said this was before cell phones and this kind of stuff. And so we knew when they were making the decision. And so I had my dad, my mom, my wife, my children, and we all went out to dinner at this real fancy restaurant. And the maitre d' was aware that the call was going to come there and he was going to bring the telephone to the table. And so he said, as the night went on, it got a little tense because it's like they're not calling. What's happening? Shouldn't they have called by now? And he said, but finally the maitre d' came to the table and had the long cord stretching from somewhere and had the telephone on a tray. And he said, Mr. Palmer, we have on the phone for you the Baseball Hall of Fame directors. And so, he looked around the table. Here we go, so says, hello. And the voice said, Jim? Yes. He said, this is the director of the Hall of Fame. And I want to tell you, congratulations that you have been elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame on the first ballot.
Wow. What a moment.
And he said, and furthermore, you were elected to the Hall of Fame by 92% of the voters. It's the highest first ballot percentage that has ever happened in history. Jim said, and all I heard was 8% didn't vote for me.
Yeah.
8% didn't think I was good enough.
Yeah.
Did I do something to them? Did I make them mad? What could I have done? And he said, it totally destroyed me. He said, but I did that to myself. And so you're describing that's what happened. You had thousands of people here, and just 30 of them discombobbled.
Well, I tell you, I remember that feeling. It has faded over time for two reasons. Number one, I think we have gotten better at being very open and communicating that when we put on an event, it's not free, and it's not free for a reason, for multiple reasons. So we've done a better job at communicating that. But then also, I have realized, so I remember the first time I felt it in 2015 when we did that event. And I went and saw Jeff Helton, my counselor, a week or two after, and I was like, dude, I can't get out of it. I'm in a funk. I don't want to do anything. This has wrecked me, these 30 emails. And he really challenged me with something that I haven't forgotten. He said, how arrogant do you think it is to think that you should create something that every single person should love? Think about that.
Wow.
Think about that.
Wow.
And I love Jeff. Jeff's one of my oldest relationships, if I think about it. But a man who can look me in the eye and go, really, really think about this. You create something and you have the audacity to think every single person should love this. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. And so from that point forward, I have this in my head. I'm creating it. I want to create things that I personally would use. I feel like I'm working a lot right now through a coach that I've hired is helping me identify my ideal customer avatar. It's me. I am my ideal customer avatar.
Yeah.
I'm the person that I want to create things for. I want to create things that I would spend my money on, that I would support, that I would go to, that I would invest in. And so,
and that you'll be enthusiastic about and grateful for and spread the word about.
And there are certain things that aren't for me. They're not wrong, evil, immoral. They're just not my thing. And that's okay.
Yeah. Christopher, you put 2,000 people together, there's going to be 30 of them who don't like apple pie.
Yes, correct. And in my mind, everybody should love apple pie. Right. But that's, especially if I bake that apple pie, if I put my love and heart and sweat and tears and money into creating this apple pie, dadgummit, you should like this apple pie, Andy.
I hear you.
And if you don't like it, it's going to make me upset.
Totally
but over the last
That's why I don't read reviews on Amazon.
Amen.
For my
Amen.
books.
Yeah.
Because
not everybody is going to like hearing that old man Jones talk about things. And that's okay. You're doing just fine. It's okay if somebody
even people
doesn't.
that you think are primed to agree with you. We in the Noticer, I had, and I write books that Christians can give to their non-Christian friends that they'll actually read.
Yeah.
Because we all have friends that, we love Billy Graham, but we give them Billy Graham book. They're not going to read it. And so I write books that Christians can give to their non-Christian friends that they'll actually read, that will create a conversation between Christians and non-Christians. Yeah. And the reason is because I don't believe anybody ever opened any book anywhere and said, okay, I accept Jesus.
Yeah.
There had to be a person involved. There had to be a conversation involved. And so if you can, the more conversations you can have, the better it is. And yet, I had a review on Amazon when the noticer came out that said, I noticed you didn't notice Jesus. You didn't notice Jesus in the book. I'm like, golly, these are my own guys.
Yeah, that's funny. But that whole, creating the subscription box, launching the event, which kind of felt like throwing a party for a living, which we love to do. We love to entertain at our home. It ignited in me. I'd always felt like I'm an entrepreneur. I'd felt that in my gut. But man, starting something from nothing, taking an idea that just lived in my brain and creating it and making it come to life and but allowing other people want to interact with this. That was addictive pretty early on. And it's been this thread that I've been pulling. I love to start things. I love to launch things. I like newness. I get excited about talking to I've noticed this in the last couple of years. I've been doing this for 10 years. Well, what does my next 10 years look like? Am I going to be running a cocktail mixer brand? Am I running a sticker? We have a sticker business. That's awesome. Am I going to be selling stickers in 10 years? And I figured out, no, I'm not. It's kind of like, getting weary from the 3 years of boxes. I'm not a good long-term operator. I'm just not. I've had to be really real and candid with myself about what I'm good at and what I'm not good at in this entrepreneurship space. I'm not good at being a long-term operator. I'm really good at starting things.
You're an excellent instigator.
I love that. Ideas, whether it's mine or somebody else's, I can look at something and go, oh, and what if you did this? I can kind of help make it better. I'm good at launch. I'm good at giving energy and excitement to new things.
Energy, excitement,
yes.
enthusiasm.
Yes.
See, I've got you pegged, Chris.
Oh dear.
I know what kind of kid you are in school.
This will be interesting.
You and I were the same kind of kid in school. Because I would bet you get this. Do people ever ask you, were you the class clown in school?
I was maybe not
I know,
but I was
people
definitely
think of you as
I was definitely goofing off. I got kicked out of my high school chemistry class for lighting a beaker directly on fire. Opening the gas valve, disconnecting the rubber hose that ran to the beaker, I guess, the flame, and then lighting that valve directly on fire, and it singed my lab partner's eyebrows. Andy, I'm not kidding you. A flame shot out from here to that wall. Vroom. And my chemistry teacher turned on her heels and looked at me. Get out! Screamed. I'm sorry for the audio on that, but screamed at me to get out. It was like I was goofing off, doing stupid stuff.
Okay, so let me explain yourself to yourself a little deeper. Because you're describing, this is exactly me in high school. That's exactly me. But I thought later, when people would say, oh, you were the class clown, I that didn't seem to fit with me.
Yeah.
It didn't seem to fit. And I realized later, and I think I can help you realize this, you and I were not the class clowns. We were the class wit, because the class clown is the guy who runs naked across the football field in freezing weather in front of the entire stadium.
That wasn't me.
We were the ones who talked him into doing it.
Maybe. Yeah, I think I could be guilty of that for sure.
Your enthusiasm. Come on, this is a great idea.
Listen, man, one of my best stories that I have in my hip pocket from my high school years, the girl that I was dating, her dad punched me in the mouth one night. And he didn't know it was me because it was in pitch black. And it's because he thought he was getting robbed, when in reality, me and some buddies were rolling his house. We were out, I think it was Halloween night, And a bunch of our girlfriends, friends that were girls, were spending the night at the house of the girl that I was dating. And so I was like, hey guys, let's get dressed up in camo. Let's put our face paint on and let's go roll some people tonight.
Now we got to stop right here and just tell the kids of today, listen to this.
Yes.
You can't do the things that we used to do.
No.
Because today
you will get killed.
You.
Absolutely. You will.
You know,
you will.
I mean, they used to call our parents. Today they call the police.
Yeah. It was, but so it was me and some buddies, me and 4 buddies, and we loaded up in my 1986 Jeep Cherokee Chief. If you go look that up, it's still a really cool car, but I paid $1,500 for this beater. We loaded up in this thing, all camoed out. Our home base was my house that night. And we drove out, it's midnight, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. But we drove up to their house, and their house sat about 100 yards off the road, country road. And I said, guys, all right, get the TP. I'm going to stay here and drive. I wasn't going to do it.
Sure. See, there's that thing.
You
go run naked across the football field.
But I was like, but you guys go do it. I'll just be the driver.
Yeah.
And so they hopped out.
Totally understand.
They dropped out, grabbed all the toilet paper, ran up, disappeared into the darkness because it's 100 yards on a country road, middle of nowhere. They disappeared quickly. I could not see them. And I just cruised that country road, 15 miles an hour for about 20, 30 minutes. But at some point, a neighbor of theirs saw me turning around in the driveway and kind of going back. And they called the man who owns that house, the girl I was dating, her dad. And so it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And hello? They said, I think you're being robbed. And that man runs out in his boxers out the front door and sees, a couple of men, human figures.
Yeah.
Doesn't know that we're 16-year-old, 17-year-old idiots, and starts to chase them toward the road. And they say, so they take off running toward the road. I'm sitting there kind of waiting. I see them running. One of them climbs in the front seat and says, her dad came out. Her dad came out. What? And so I'm yelling. I see other figures running toward me, and I'm yelling at them, Jeremy, Dave, come on, get in the car. And I'm kind of waiting like, okay, where are they? And I'm seeing them run up. And one of them runs up, and my window's down, and cold cocks me in the face. And it startled me. I went, why is Dave punching me in the face right now? And I looked, and it was her dad. I had never met him before, but there's a grown man in his boxers. Oh. And now he's punched me, and he's reaching for my keys, and he's trying to turn the Jeep off, the truck off. And I am freaking out. And so I've got one beside me, one in the back. I'm still missing 2 guys, but I take off. And I'm like, I'm terrified. I'm out of here. This man has just punched me in the face. And so we leave. We go to my house. My dad was this man who he never slept in a bed. He slept in the lazy boy.
Right.
And he smoked like a freight train. And he'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, go out and smoke a cigarette, make a pot of coffee, have a cup of coffee, and then go fall back asleep. So I shook him over, Dad. And he woke up, and I said, here's what's happened. And I've only got 2 guys with me, so I'm missing 2. He walked in the kitchen, made a pot of coffee, poured a cup, said, follow me. And we walked out, we got in there, got back in the Jeep, and he calmly, just smoking, out the window, and he drove back over to their house, not saying a word. And we got a half a mile from their house, and he leaned over and opened the glove box and had, I don't know where it came from. I still don't know where it came from, like an air horn. And he leaned out and just kind of blew that horn a couple times. And we drove past their house with the lights off. And when we got past their house a little bit, he turned the lights back on, and 2 heads popped up out of the ditch looking at us. And we found our guys, loaded them back up. But the next day at school, I walked up to this young lady that I was dating and met her at the locker, and she saw my face. I had like a pretty good knock on my face. And she was like, it was you last night. And it was terrifying because we had not actually gone. I had asked her out. We had our date planned. I had not executed that date yet. So I had to walk up to that man's front porch, now knowing he knows, his daughter knows, I know, we all know what happened. And I had to ring that doorbell and be there waiting when he opened the door. And but he handled it really, really well. He apologized. He knew, we explained everything. Like, we weren't trying to destroy property. We weren't trying to steal. We were just throwing toilet paper and trees, just messing around. We're all friends. This group is friends. And when he understood that, he apologized, and it was a huge misunderstanding. But the girl that I was dating, her dad punched me in the face one time. And so, yeah. I don't even remember what even brought that story out?
Dude, this is a gold medal story.
But what even prompted that?
I don't care. We've got a gold medal story on our podcast. This is great. Oh, what prompted it was you saying the kind of person that you would wanted to market to was the kind of person like you. And I said, let me tell you the kind of person you are.
So I wasn't the one who was up there rolling, but I was like, hey, let's go do that. See, and I'm going to be the driver.
And see, I know that so well.
Yeah.
I got that reputation so firmly that I called one of my best friends one night, and I'm telling you the absolute truth. I called one of my best friends one night, and I said, hey, tomorrow's Friday night. I've got an idea. And he literally tomorrow's Friday night. I've got an idea. He said, don't make me do this. And I said, what? He said, please, don't make me do this.
He's powerless.
Oh, yeah.
He's powerless.
Because he knows. He said, told me later, he said, you could say, hey, let's get on scuba diving gear and go swim in the sewer control pond. And he said, after you got through talking about it, I'd go, that sounds good.
Yeah. Don't make me
do this.
He knew he was going to be powerless to your idea.
So when you got over the tragedy of these people that didn't like.
Yeah.
First of all, I got to ask, I think I know, but I got to ask, why do you charge?
Well, I'm convinced, I think it's Dave who says, and maybe it's not original to him, but people don't read free books. You give them a book, hey, you should read this. That thing most likely is going to sit on a bookshelf and collect dust, and they're never going to crack it.
Who gave you my books?
Dave.
and how long did they sit in your?
20 years. 20 years. Hey, I'll be the first. I'm telling you, like, I've known of you because you would come when I was there. You would come do the Wednesday devotional from time to time, and Dave would always be very kind, like, hey, we're going to be giving away Andy's book. Everybody's going to be getting a copy. Those things are still sitting on my bookshelf at home.
So Dave gave you free books, and he told you people don't read free books.
I still haven't cracked those books. When I read The Noticer and oh my goodness, I'm blanking on the Traveler's Gift, which I'm making my 3 oldest kids read right now. I bought 3. I did buy 3.
You didn't read it for 20 years, but by God, you kids are going to read this.
But the thing is, I went audiobook because I thought, and I sampled it. I thought, if Andy's reading this, now knowing you, if Andy's reading it, I'd prefer audiobook. I want to hear how he tells these stories. And so that's genuine. I told you last night at dinner. That's my favorite part about the audiobooks is hearing you do the different voices.
Okay, keep going. Why you charge?
But people don't read free books. If Financial Peace University, which I think they still do. I'm disconnected from that, but people won't invest in making the change in their life if it's given to them for free. They have to have some skin in the game. It's a shopping event, Main South Market, which right now we only do a holiday market. It's every year before Thanksgiving in Franklin. Our goal for that event is that we want people to come to it, meet these makers, and we want you to do, very clearly stated, do all of your Christmas shopping with these people. Don't go to Walmart, don't go to Target, don't shop on Amazon. Come here, meet these people who are trying to build small businesses. Look them in the eye, connect with them, hear their story, and spend your money with them, not out here. And so we charge an admission fee because if we open it up to everybody, and we hear this from the makers and artisans who participate in this event, if we open it up and didn't charge an admission fee, we get way more people coming in.
Sure.
But those people are going to take up space in your area. They're going to sample your food or whatever. If you're a food maker, they're going to eat a lot of samples. They're going to maybe ask some questions, but I call them tire kickers. And it doesn't mean they're all going to be tire kickers, but something free. I don't want a bunch of tire kickers. I want people to come to this event. And if you're willing to spend $20 to walk in the room to a shopping event, you're the type of person who I think is dedicated to the mission of the event, which is to support these people who are trying to build their livelihoods.
And not only that, for that $20, you're providing food, entertainment.
Well, so it's a little bit different. We have a Friday night VIP night that is more than $20. And we do have some chef friends that we bring in for that. We'll always work. I told you we have some distillery friends. I told you last night.
Right.
And so this year we partnered with some friends of mine who own a distillery in Franklin. We used their bourbon and their vodka in the cocktails for the Friday night VIP night. And so we had a brown derby on the menu Friday night.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Oh, it was fantastic. People loved it. But so Friday night, the VIP night, there's definitely food, drinks, live music, things like that. Saturday is largely just a shopping event. Now, a lot of those makers are food focused, so they're going to be sampling some things. You're going to get to try a lot of different things, but there's not necessarily food to be eaten on site on Saturday. So that's a $20 ticket price.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we still want people. We don't want tire kickers. I want somebody who's going to come in and they're on board with the mission of the event, which is I'm going to come spend a ton of money with these people.
Paying $20 to get all your shopping done in one place with quality stuff.
And it is fun. We do make it fun. We will have some music. I told you, we've got a friend of mine, Paul Dingler is his name. Paul is a Forrest Gump impersonator. And he's been at every single Made South Market event we've ever done since 2015. And he shows up and you would swear you're talking to Tom Hanks in that movie. And he's dressed like it. He's wearing the Nikes and the white suit. He's got a suitcase. And we'll put him on a park bench and let him just interact with customers as Forrest Gump. And we'll give him things to put in his suitcase that he can pull out and give away to people as like to surprise and delight them. And it's one of my favorite things that we get to do is see Paul interact with people because they love it. They absolutely flip for him. So we make it fun.
On the show notes, I'm not going to make you explain all the ways that people can get in touch with you, but on the show notes, we will list everything we have about how to get in touch with you. You do a podcast, and I'm still waiting for my invitation to guest on your podcast. Can you give it to me?
Andy, would you like to formally accept an invitation to be on my podcast? I would love to have you.
That's a yes. Okay. Thank you. All right. So that's done.
I mean, we have a brand focused on fun Southern stickers. It's in about 2,000 stores across the country. You can buy our stickers in. We have a cocktail mixer business. I'm working on my next 10 years. I'm convinced of this, Andy. I have figured out what my purpose is. Wow. This is the first time. I have never really known. I mean, I've known the things I like to do. If it involves the South, small business, makers, artisans, that's what I like to do. It's never felt purposeful to me. But I have just in the last few months identified what I want to spend my next 10 years doing. And that's encouraging, helping, advising other entrepreneurs. I've figured this out. Not when I say figured it out, I don't mean I've got it dialed in and everything, but I've had to solve problems that I never thought I would have to solve. I had no one teaching me, helping me, guiding me, assisting me on how to make a leap from a really comfortable corporate job to being a solo entrepreneur on my own out there just trying to figure it out and make it happen. I've made so many mistakes and learned so many lessons, and I want to. It's probably the most exciting thing I get to do now is if someone reaches out to me and says, man, I'm a healthcare executive and I make X number of dollars a year. I'm very comfortable. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm good at it, but I'm dying every day I come into this building and I have an idea, but I have no idea how to go make this be a thing. Can we get coffee? I love sitting with that person for an hour and going, there is a different way. Corporate jobs are not evil or wrong. Some people were made to do it and they love it and they thrive in it. Other people, it is killing them inside, but they can't even conceive that a different life is possible.
Right.
And I love meeting those people and going, it is possible. And here are some things you can do to start taking steps to making it a reality for you. Because today, God bless Dave. I love him to death. I love the mission of that company. I love his work. It was not for me anymore. I am much more fulfilled today doing what I do than I was then.
You know, Dave's work, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But an observation about Dave's work is Dave's work has freed hundreds of thousands of people,
if not millions,
to pursue entrepreneurial dreams, of which you cannot pursue those if you're deep, deep, deep in debt.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, at your age, in your mid 40s, you're very blessed to have connected with what your purpose is. I think there's people who, Thoreau said, most men live lives of quiet desperation. Yeah. And I think that is because most men live lives without understanding their purpose.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you just a final question. What is great about being an entrepreneur? I think everybody automatically knows what's not great about it because it's you. You're responsible for everything, and the money you make, the money you don't make, and it's you. So everybody knows that. But what's great about being an entrepreneur?
3 things to me come to mind. I had no idea you were going to ask that question, but as you were asking, I was going, okay, man, this is a good one. 3 things come to mind. Some of them are maybe a little more obvious than others. For me, sitting here 10 years, having just made it work, and by the grace of God, I've not had to move my family under a bridge in Orange Beach, Alabama. He's been good to me. He's provided for 10 years.
I did that before I had a family.
I knew there were some realistic things from the noticer that I thought were real about your life. My time freedom now is tremendous. It is. I am not an infinitely wealthy man. God has provided, but I'm not sitting on a stockpile of cash. My time freedom is tremendous. When Dave sends a text and says, hey, I had a guy drop out of the hunting trip. You want to go? It's in 2 weeks. I look at my wife and I go, hey, this sounds like a lot of fun. She goes, go do it. Take 5 days off. I didn't think about work. I checked in just a little bit here and there. My time freedom is tremendous. And I'm convinced, it's so cliche, it is our most valuable asset. When my kids have a baseball game, I'm there. When I eat dinner at the dinner table with my wife and kids nearly every single night. Now, we got some older kids who are working, doing babysitting, different things like that. For the most part, I'm sitting at that dinner table with my wife and kids.
And you're not just eating, you're there.
I'm there. I don't travel unless I want to. I'm here. I told you in Potley last night. Like, I'm not trying to make you feel special because I know you already feel special. I came here solely for the reason to sit across from the peace table with you and share this experience. I thought it sounded fun. That's my number 2 things. My number 2 thing, I get to do things that I think are fun. If I don't feel like they're going to be fun for me, I don't do them. That is huge. If you just sit and think about that for a second. Working at Dave's, man, I loved that work. I loved my clients. I loved getting to serve them well. There were a lot of days it wasn't fun. It wasn't energizing. It wasn't like fueling me. I get to do things that I think are fun. And I think we've lost that a little bit in business. You get to do these monotonous, tedious things, and they're just not fun for you. I get to do fun things. And my 3rd thing is I get to choose who I do business with. Back then, although I can genuinely say, I'm thinking back on it, There's not a client that I had working for Dave that I didn't genuinely like and think was a good person. So he has set his model up, and he's very intentional about that as well. He will not do business with people who he's like, this is a shady character. We sent many checks back to people who wanted to do business with us then, who we went, this doesn't feel right. Something's going on here. We're going to choose not to do business with this person. That's a tremendous value to me in my life to go.
Yeah.
I get to choose the human beings that I get to be involved with. Our cocktail mixer brand, Eli Mason, I have 3 men who I'm business partners with on that. And I can name them right here. Bill Hampton, Kevin Geschke, Dixon Dedman. I love those 3 men.
Tell Bill Hampton
I love
said hi.
Do you know Bill?
I know Bill.
Why'd you say that? Bill's head is already wouldn't fit through this door. And now you're going to mention him on this. And then he's going to be like, oh, yeah, Andy name dropped me. But those 3 men I love. They are some of my dearest friends. I trust them. I love being involved in that business with them. Jeremy Crabtree is my business partner on our sticker brand, Good Southerner. I love Jeremy and his family.
Crabtree? Jeremy Crabtree?
Stop it now.
No, I don't know that.
But Jeremy and his wife, Lauren, they have 4 kids that live in Cookeville, Tennessee. We met them at Pine Cove Family Camp in 2018, hit it off, and created this little brand that has really become something. I love being in that business with Jeremy. I love being able to choose the people I work with. I love being able to do things I have fun. I love my time freedom. Those are things you can't put a price on.
Well, if I had to gift a young person with something, it would probably be an entrepreneurial spirit. You know, our 2 boys, we raised them to be entrepreneurs because we said you'll never be as happy as you can be when you're doing your own thing, when you're out on that diving board alone. And so both our boys are entrepreneurs. And doing very well.
I see glimpses of it in my 2 oldest, that it's fun to see it. And I don't know that I've been as intentional as I should have been about teaching them, guiding them. But I will say they were packing boxes on day 1 back in 2014. Yeah. I met a lady at this last holiday market just a month or 2 ago who came up to me and said, I still have the thank you note that your kids signed in that first box. The first box we sent out, we had Made South letterhead, and we wrote a thank you note, and all of the kids, we only had 3 kids at the time, but all 3 kids signed their names to that note in different color markers. And she said, I still have that thank you note framed sitting in my office.
Wow.
And I thought, hey, that's kind of weird, but it's awesome. And I think back, like when we packed those boxes, I would sit down afterwards and they'd sit at the kitchen table and I would write them a check out of that business account. And my wife and I would drive those 3 kids to the bank. We have pictures of them sitting at the bank, filling out their deposit slips and putting those checks in their bank accounts. Like to teach them about work, earning money, hard work, creativity. It was one of the big reasons why I wanted to go do something on my own.
Well, I understand why the lady has it framed because there are not enough families today that are intentional with their children. You are doing what I call, you're not raising, your goal is not to raise great kids. You're raising kids who become great adults.
That's our hope and prayer.
2 totally different things.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing with your kids, that lady recognized that, and she recognized how different it was. And I mean, what an incredible calling card of influence to have children who are obedient and imaginative, mannerly, and engaging. What a huge calling card it is for their dad and mom.
Yeah.
Because people are like, how do you get them to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're reading my mail right now. We've had some struggles with some of our kids over the last year and a half.
Everybody does.
Yeah. And we have learned a lot. We're not trying to raise good kids. We're trying to raise great adults, great long-term adult human beings. And so that's been a little bit of a shift because I mean, candidly, and I don't know if this has anything to do with entrepreneurship, but we had been, I think, in this mindset that if we put the right things in, we will get the right result out. Almost like an ATM machine. If I put enough money into this thing, I can withdraw what I want. And we're realizing that's not how raising kids works. It's not always, you can do all the right things. The kid results might come out sideways, and you really don't have much control over that. But we're playing the long game. We believe they're going to be awesome adults. Yeah. And I look back on me as a 15, 16-year-old idiot. And today, man, I've been married to that woman for almost 23 years. She is
and she
my
likes
number.
You
now. She genuinely likes me still. We have so much fun. We love our kids. They're not perfect, but man, we love them. And they know it. They know their mom and dad love them. And they know that we're not perfect. We're sinners. We're in dire need of a savior. But we try really hard as parents. And we were talking about last night, hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than starting any business, but way more worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some gifts for you. Can I give you some gifts?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Am I allowed to do that?
Absolutely.
Listen, it's like a page out of
the man's coming bearing gifts.
It's a page out of my Southern Gentleman's Handbook. I can't show up empty-handed, right?
Okay.
So I thought I would bring you a few things. Here we go. I got 4 different things for you, Andy. All right?
Oh, wow.
Here, I'm going to let you open this bag. There are 3 items in that bag. Okay. I'm going to save this one for last. So this is...
Bless your heart.
This is our sticker brand is called Good Southerner, and we have 200 different designs. They're all fun, like Southern sayings, but we just took 4 of our top sayings and made hats out of them. And so we just came out with these, but I thought that would be a good one for you. You could wear that in a field or something.
I love that. I love that. And what is?
So this is not mine. I don't make this. I don't have anything to do with this business. But a new friend of mine, Robert Burris, introduced this product at our holiday market this year, and I fell in love with it. And this is going to seem so simple, but inside there, you have these little pouches that are high quality tea and real cane sugar all mixed in. And so you don't have to hot brew it. You put that in a pitcher and you pour cold water over it and you let it sit for 8 minutes, stir it, and you got sweet tea. And it's delicious. And they've got a patent on it. This is a genius product.
Small batch sweet tea.
It's only been around for 4 weeks. They launched this 4 weeks ago, but I think it's absolutely genius. And I'm trying to find some ways to help them and work with them. And that product right there is made right down the road, right about an hour down the road. What's the name of the little town? I drove through it on the way in.
Bay Minette.
There you go.
Bay Minette, Alabama. Wow.
So that company's based right here in your backyard, and they make an awesome product. So I wanted you to try some.
That is awesome. Yeah, we will love this because we are sweet tea-aholics.
Well, I kind of knew that about you. And then inside there, I brought you, Polly mentioned last night she wanted to try some of our stickers. So I brought you a handful of our favorite designs.
Son of a biscuit eater. I love this.
You like biscuits?
And these are high quality.
They really are.
Stickers. These are not just your
I'm telling you.
Paper things. Hold your horses. Let's see. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all.
You ever said that?
Oh, every day. Y'all need Jesus.
Amen. I love the double meanings of some of these.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Goodness gracious.
How many times you said that in your
life?
life?
My mom and daddy used to say that. Well, goodness gracious. Oh, we used to say this about my mama. Mama ain't playing.
Mama ain't playing?
She ain't playing.
I've been there so many times.
Lord have mercy.
Another double meaning. I love it. I love
it. Would you kids act like you got some sense? I love this. Mind your own biscuits.
That's when I want to tell somebody to get out of my business. Mind your own biscuits.
Mind your own biscuits. Well, butter my bun and call me a biscuit.
We like biscuits in our area.
Bless your heart.
That's our number one best since day one. That simple little sticker. You'd be shocked at how many of those we've sold in the last 4 years.
You know what? I gotta say, this is the first time I'm seeing your stickers, and I have to admit that when I heard stickers, I'm like, okay, like a roll of these paper
no.
things that you just like. It's like, really, you're making money with that? But these are, golly, I mean, this is a vinyl, high quality.
It's dishwasher safe. It won't fade, crack, or peel. You can throw that on the back of a car, and in 5 years, it'll look just like that. You put it on your coffee mugs, your laptops, your ATV, your cooler. Like, people slap those stickers on everything. They're fun. And then here's the last thing I brought you, okay?
I love these. Thank you for this.
So you were talking about that hunting trip that we went on. So I had this idea when we were there. I was like, man, that was just a special time for me. You know, you're all, I don't want to say the old guys, but all of you guys on that trip.
All of us are older than you.
You're older than, I was the youngest guy on that trip, and I was the newest guy on that trip. And I was genuinely surprised at how welcoming everybody was. You know, you always hope that the people you see are going to be nice, warm, kind, welcoming. But that's really what I got. Every one of you guys. Right.
Because there were several people that you have probably watched
for sure.
Henry Cloud, Willie Robertson,
absolutely.
Dave,
and Henry's
Andy Marshall.
Henry and I are talking about golf, and he's like, I told him I'm struggling with my putter. Well, go get your putter. So Henry's giving me putting lessons, and I was really struck with the kindness and just being invited into that group. It was a very special trip, and I'm excited that I get to keep going on it. But I thought on that, I was like, I'm going to have something made for these guys that kind of, just honors the trip a little bit, something they can remember the trip by. So I got you this. I don't know which end. Here, you want to open it with that end right there. So try that right there.
Okay, let's see.
You're going to have to fiddle with it a little bit. Matt's going to have to edit this part out. Like,
no,
Andy can't crack the code on this box.
Well, this is why, this isn't a TV package. You know how they have the TV presents?
Yeah. There's like a little tab. I try to get something fairly easy.
This tab would tear my fingernails off, Chris.
Here, you need a knife? Will a knife help you?
I guess.
I guess. Try that.
If I don't cut myself with it. All right.
That's a sharp knife, Andy. So don't.
Sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, that makes me nervous. You coming back towards you with that thing. Whew. There you go.
There you go.
So I had these made for you. So each of the guys on that trip received one of these this week. So this is made by a dear friend of mine, Chris Richardson, and his family. They live in Birmingham, Alabama. That's the city you were born in.
Yeah.
And he runs this brand called Richardson Axe Works that he custom makes these beautiful axes and hatchets and things like that. And so I said, hey, man, what if you created a hatchet that kind of honored this trip? What would that look and feel like? He said, well, listen, we got to have blaze orange on there. Let's maybe put like a little pheasant something. I said, and let's get the guy's initials and the year.
Oh, my gosh. It's an AA 2023 and a pheasant.
Yep. And so the blaze orange, so I had him make these for you guys, and I think they turned out really great. He's one of the makers and one of the artisans who come. I've gotten to know him over the last 5 years. That was made in Birmingham, Alabama. So I wanted you to have that.
Hey, Matt, when we do our show notes, let's put where people can get all these items. Okay?
That's very kind. Isn't that cool, though?
This is awesome.
I mean, that guy's got a fun little brand, and he and I have gotten to know each other well. And it's funny. He's actually now one of my business partners on our Made South Market event. He and his wife, who they're raising their kids in Birmingham, he has been a part of that event for 5 years and has grown to love it and knows what it's all about. And as I'm getting stressed out with events, he has stepped in and said, man, let me take some of that burden from you. So he and his family are now partners with us on the Made South event. But he makes those in Birmingham. I think they're absolutely beautiful. I gave one of those, not this specific style, but I gave one of his hatchets to each of my boys for Christmas last year, and they love them. He makes some really cool stuff.
I wonder if I can get to him before Christmas.
I can put you together with him. I don't know.
My boys will love.
I mean, he makes some really awesome things.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is, I mean, and the holster for it.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
And I didn't realize you were born in Birmingham.
Yeah, man.
And so last night learning that, I was like, well, that'll work perfectly because that X is coming from Birmingham.
Good, great. Buddy, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a treat.
I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that.
Well.
And how can we help you? We're going to list everything on the show notes.
That is so
people
generous.
on the show notes.
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
Since you don't know, we will explore ways to help you.
Oh, that's very kind.
Yeah.
That's very kind.
And
I will say everything we do, you can find out about at madesouth.com. It's got our Airbnb. We have a couple little tiny house Airbnbs that are so fun for people to go stay at. You can learn about that. You can learn about our sticker brand, about our Eli Mason, about the holiday market. You can learn about everything we do at madesouth.com.
Well, there's people that you meet, then there's people that you're willing to do business with.
Oh, man.
Then there's people that you'll have on your podcast. Then there's people that you'll go to dinner with. Then there's people that you'll introduce, to your wife. And so last night, it was the first time Polly got to meet you. And I told her, because you know how wives are, we know a lot of people. And it's like, we could keep them busy every night. Mm-hmm. And it's like, who is this? What are we doing?
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, you're going to love this. You're going to love it. Oh. And so when we left Big Fish last night and got in the car, I looked at her and I went, She goes, I love him.
Well, that my mom used to say, that warms the cockles of my heart.
Well, I can't wait for our boys to meet you. That's a treat.
And I will say, I don't know how you did it because that woman is way better looking than you. Yeah. And it don't make no sense, man.
Well,
it don't make no sense.
It's all personality with people like you and me, because we're married to 10s and we can clean up and be a 7. Ooh. And so people look at us and go, we learned how to talk. We learned how to, we're salespeople.
I keep her laughing. Every now and then I'll tell her, if I couldn't keep you laughing. Anytime
you see an ugly guy with a beautiful woman, hire him.
Yes.
Because there is something going on with this guy. This guy can sell, inspire, motivate. This guy can do it.
That's a great tip. I love that. That's the boat I feel like I'm in.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being with us, buddy.
Thank you for having me. It's been a treat.
We'll have you again as soon as we can.
Man, anytime. You name it, I will be here at the peace table.
All right.
And I won't come empty-handed, Andy.
All right, man. Bye-bye. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Cattail mixers for the cast and crew provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by Vegemeats.com. Are you a vegetarian and just about tired of it? Do you experience feelings of weakness or dizziness due to a lack of protein? Perhaps you'd just like a big old greasy burger every now and then, but are too embarrassed to give up your charade of healthy living. Have we got a deal for you? Right now, join the tens of thousands of vegetarians who are getting their protein punch by way of Vegemeats.com. Yes, it looks like broccoli, but in reality, it's potted meat dyed green and pressed into broccoli shapes. We have Vienna sausages colored orange to imitate baby carrots, and pork meatballs shaped just like Brussels sprouts. There's a whole new world being offered right now at Vegemeats.com. Extra well done ground beef, browned, separated, and dyed bright yellow, masquerading as niblet corn is our special today. That's Vegemeats.com.